Welcome to Eloise Behind the Scenes. If you haven't seen my short yet, who hasn't let things get a little out of hand? You really should. Spoilers for Eloise. Welcome to part 2 of 5 Sets in 1. You should check out part 1 if you haven't, although you can watch the behind the scene videos out of order. Today we'll be tackling the back room of the barn where the unfortunate victims' bodies get dissolved, and the kitchen where Eloise cooks up something devilish. To make an appropriately grim environment, I start by using sheets of foam, texturing them first with an X-Acto knife, then a mechanical pencil with the lead down. I use an X-Acto knife to do the little wood details. I paint the walls with a base coat. I paint the ground a reddish brown base coat, then I don't like it and start working in a bunch of colors till it's this muddy brown color that I don't like but will soon change. It's wall assembly time. I'm pretty sure I used duct tape. Then I use matte Mod Podge to add this reddish mica powder. It's the same stuff I used in the barn video, so I'm being very careful. Don't need a repeat of that incident. To understand what I'm talking about, check out Eloise Behind the Scenes Making a Terrifying Barn from Cardboard and Paint, parentheses also it's my B-Day. After I start dry brushing the walls with gray, green, and black. Then it's time to add some greenery I bought from Joann's craft store. Now it's bottle making time. Queen City Minnie's video on making bottles using hot glues was incredibly helpful. In fact, hers and a lot of channels were so helpful in the crafting process that I will list them below if you're interested in learning more on how I did these things or you want to make something for yourself. And if you do feel inspired and make something, be sure to @me on any social media so I can see what you made. The bottle making process involves using a lighter on a hot glue stick to round the top. It basically involves heating and spinning a glue stick and trying not to heat it too much. I'm also holding it upside down so it can kind of drip into a circular dome. After I'm satisfied, I cut the bottle to a more appropriate side and smooth out the other end with fire, but not holding it over so long. I repeat the bottle making base step a few more times. I attempt to use a dab of hot glue, holding the bottle upside down so I can have a variation in cap types on the bottle. Okay, so now I'm going to lightly bring this closer just to make it more see-through. I might grunge them up a bit with some wash. In fact, I probably will. But let's at least start with a kind of see-through. I heat the bottle caps a bit more just to make them see-through. So at this point, I'm not trying to change the look of the bottles at all. If you heat it up a little bit more, it'll become more see-through. Then I use Q-tips that I cut the top and bottom off to make the other bottle caps. I color one of them black with a Copic marker, and then I hot glue those caps onto the bottle bases. One thing you might notice is I'm not actually using the base for this anymore. I thought it would need more support, but clearly duct tape is good enough, which I shouldn't be surprised by. Anyway, it's time to add these chemical bottles, and I'm gonna put them down where the trough is gonna be, which is gonna be like back here. So I'm gonna kind of litter them nearby, and now I'm gonna make chemical spills near this area. So I'm gonna color it on this side, and it's gonna look like a chemical. It's gonna look like it's spilling out, and then I'm going to use hot glue to make the chemical spill. Okay, so I'm gonna. There you go. Now I'm coloring this in to make it look like it's a chemical leak. This one's pretty light, so I don't know how much is going to show up, but that can just be the quality of it. Oops, I'm getting some shit in it. But that's okay, because it's realistic. Now it's time to make the barn trough where the body dissolving action takes place. Starting with the Bobo's cup sleeve, I cut it in half to the height I want. Bend it to a more agreeable shape. Then hot glue it together. Then I duct tape my trough walls to a cardboard bottom for the base. After that, I hot glue on some Q-tips that I have cut the bottom and tops off of to add some more details to the trough. I cut the excess cardboard off the base. I tape and hot glue wire around the top of the trough. This was a real struggle, especially with my fake nails still on from my cousin's wedding. I made little wire handles for the sides and hot glued them onto the trough. Alright, I'm gonna do a black base coat and then I'll let it dry. Now I'm going to start splashing on some colors with a sponge. Dry brushing time, more paint sponging. Time to add plastic lining in the trough, wouldn't want to leave any DNA evidence behind. I also hot glue back on a handle that fell off. I add some acrylic wash to the trough. Then I sponge on some mystery red stains. I was gonna wait, but I don't want to. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks right now. I'm gonna put it in carefully. Let me look at it. It's just a little shiny in places. I don't like that. What do I do? Okay, this makes me feel like I should actually wait to put the blood, because I want to get color. Let me just, I'm going to glue this down though, real quick. Alright, I'm going to dry brush some of the colors I liked for the shine. Oh, I can also do this. And then also, I can bring some of this back in. It's like using a gray acrylic, basically. Well, it's more like it's the mix. It is a gray acrylic wash, but it's like it's the mixture from from all the paint I've used today. So, okay, so one thing I'm also gonna do is try to, okay, well I was gonna see if I could take some of the dust from here. Alright, one sec. So I got some of the dust. Yeah, this is good. Last fun step. I got some blood here, and I'm gonna very gently apply it because I don't want to use too much. I also don't know honestly how much it'll stick. I might need to put some glue in here. Now it's time to move on to set 2, the kitchen set. It's worth mentioning before I start that a lot of these environments were inspired by a lot of visual research, by which I mean compiling a bunch of photos on Pinterest. Here are some of the images I used when I was making the kitchen. I didn't mention using Pinterest for the environment before, because if memory suits, I didn't use too many photos directly for that. I did, however, use reference photos for the barn, which I based the back room off of, but unfortunately I didn't save those images. Anyway, I already made some clay plates, which don't worry, I will redo later, but right now I'm attempting to make a jar using a hot glue stick and a hot glue gun by melting a hole in the center of it. This is for the bedroom set, but it was made with the kitchen props, so I'm including it here. I also did the hot glue out using clay tools. Making this jar was very hard, and I'm considering what method I could do better in the future. Maybe if I made a mold and then I could use some resin, but I'm nervous using resin, so I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. Next, I paint the plates white. I'm now going to make something I've been avoiding. I'm now going to make something I've been avoiding for a while. The frame for the cabinet for the kitchen. This is pretty much the reason why I haven't done the kitchen yet. So I'm going to take these stir sticks, and the first step is to make the frame for it. And my goal, I'm probably going to do this with all of them just to make it easier, is to make it so these drawers can open and close. And I found a great tutorial by Craft Fish. So I'm gonna first glue these stir sticks together to make a frame. You can't see. To make the base of the cabinets. Then I cut balsa wood for the front cabinets using an X-Acto knife. Now I cut the sides and bottoms of the cabinet that actually will be able to move in and out, and I glued them together. Next, I glue the cabinet front down on the frames. These won't actually have to move, so I'm just worrying about making them look like they're real cabinets. Then I took stir sticks and glued them down as dividers in between the cabinets and drawers. So I've added the details on all of these, all the drawers. And I've shaved down the sides of this so it can fit in its little hole. I just got it in here. Anyway, it fits. I'm not gonna struggle to put it in again. Well, wait, you know what? I will prove it. Okay, there you go. It fits, and it can come out. And I added this thing that Craftfish talks about, this little stop. Oh, you can't see it. This little stop, just so it doesn't go in and out, like it doesn't go in too far. It'll stop here, and then yeah. So the next step is going to be to add beads as the handles to everything. But I'm going to do that tomorrow because I'm going to eat something quick and go to bed. So yeah. I decided to take a break from making the cabinet to working on the stove. I start by cutting a mini cereal box to the size I want, then I hot glue a cover on top of the newly created hole. Next I make clay doors for the stove, and I remove the doors and covered the stove with a thin layer of clay. While I wait for this to dry, I'm gonna go back to the stove, and I'm gonna rub it with some baby oil to smoothen it out. I work on more of the stove's details using clay tools. I struggled a lot with this detail, trying to keep the longer pieces of clay straight. After baking the clay, I glued down the doors and added some beads to represent the hinges. I've really enjoyed seeing how much beads can be used in the crafting process to represent different items. You'll see this a lot in other videos, and the channel Queen City Minis really opened me up to that possibility. I decided to replace the clay piece I made earlier partially with a popsicle stick. I cut the ends off the stick, and then I cut a stir stick to the same side and glued them to the stove. Next, I hot glue a piece of foam to the top of the stove. I traced stove impressions into the foam using a wooden tool, tracing a paint cap. Next, it's time for a black base coat. Dry brushing time. Here I dry brush different grays and blues. Then I hot glue on these cool beads, which are perfect as these old handles for the stove. I make a jar using Queen City Minis tutorial. It was incredibly helpful. So at first I was only gonna do, oh my gosh. At first I was only gonna do jars, but then I started messing around and doing this candle here. I started with the glue gun again, cut it kind of sideways, used a new lighter to melt the top, and then I attached this like little wooden stick, and I cut it kind of at an angle to kind of make it feel like it's a wick. And now I'm adding little drips, so I'm gonna keep doing that. Here I craft a teapot out of clay. Now it's time to make the kitchen walls. I got this part. Maybe let's see if it fits. It's fitting pretty good, but I'm gonna add a little trim on the bottom. to keep things even. But we got this, and then we'll paint it. I hot glued foam sheets together to make the walls. Now I'm adding stir sticks to the edge of the door frame to make it look cleaner. I have this now. I have like a little bit of a trim. Oh damn, I forgot. I'm gonna have to. Anyway, I'm gonna add these walls and then I'm gonna finish the trim. Okay, my hand hurts. Okay, so I've got this piece here, which is perfect for my wall here. And now I'm gonna tape this in here with some duct tape. The back has all been supported by duct tape, which is perfect. Okay, so I've got the base for the kitchen in here, and I think this is about where I'm gonna have the distance, and I think that's enough space for if I want to have the little cat playing there or like sleeping, maybe that I can do that. But I'm liking this. It feels like a separate room. Here I go back to the cabinets, hot gluing beads on as handles. Okay, so I made this when the camera wasn't on. You saw me glue the things, but I attached a back, oops, and a front. Nope, I attached the back to it and the sides. There you go. And I have this little, no, you already saw that. Yeah, so I just put this little piece here as like a nice support. Actually, I should glue it so it stays more on straight. I will do that. And then I painted the draw. And then I'm gonna dry brush it with some, well, maybe I won't. Yeah, no, maybe I'm going to. I'm gonna dry brush it with some blues and possibly some grays, but I'm gonna keep painting this, and then we'll worry about this. I'm gonna probably also glue this piece here, so yeah. Here I'm painting the counter a brown base coat. While the counter dries, I start painting the trim of the kitchen a rich brown. Time to dry brush some blue. Time to make the wood a little shiny. So I'm gonna varnish the table trim with just a little bit of Mod Podge Gloss Luster. And then I'm gonna do the same thing. I don't wanna do too much. And the same thing with I don't remember what I was saying. I'm going to put a thin layer of this, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the wall trim. After putting the Mod Podge luster on the trim, I paint the walls a base peach color. Inspired by Queen City Mini's industrious use of wood glue, I came up with an idea of my own. I sketched a series of knives I wanted to make on the cardboard, then layered the wood glue inside the lines of my knives, waiting for them to dry, then doing it again and again until I built up a knife. While waiting for the knives to dry, I started working on making pots and pans using Queen City Mini's video. I start by curling strips of cardboard. Then I glue the strips of cardboard into circles and cut off the excess. So now I got these, the base for the pots. Let's make the bottoms and then the handles. I hot glue the pots and pans to a cardboard base, then I cut away the excess. Sand the edges, and I've cut out handles and little bits to go in the pots. From the cardboard. So I'm gonna take over from Past Me here. I tried to indent the handles to make it look like it had nails. That's what Queen City Minis did, but it didn't work. So instead I plan to add nails later. I add wood glue to the handles to create some definition and wonder how many layers I'm going to need to add to the knives until I'm done. While that's drying and working, we're gonna make the lids. So the first step is you trace it, and one thing I noticed is that mine is not a perfect circle, which is clear. It's kind of annoying, but I'm just gonna go with it. And then you cut you cut a first circle out of cardboard, and I'm going to try to make this a little rounder because I'm just going to. And you cut it on the outside so it's a little bigger. I don't remember which one it was for, to be honest. To cut another circle that's smaller than the inside of the pot and glue them together. So I'm going to do that for all of them real quick, except for the frying pan. I hot glue the handles onto the pots. I'm not going to show you how many times I add wood glue to the knives because it took so long. Just imagine in between each thing I add another layer of glue to the knives. I add wood glue to the outside of the pots. The goal is to hide the cardboard seams. Alright, I'm now going to glue on the little hot glue gun handles. I got the knives cut, and now I'm doing a black paint paste base coat. And I'm going to give those a chance to dry while I dry brush the pots and pans a nice kind of golden bronze. This video is getting very long, so I'm going to do a speed run of a bunch of stuff I did. If you guys are like, hey, I really wanted to get more detail on how you did this or that, let me know in the comments and I can release a more detailed video going over how I made this or that. So let's do the speed run. I wove a basket out of string and wire. I added gloopy bits to a candle and painted it. I made a salt shaker using a bead and a dab of hot glue. I made eggs out of clay. I painted paper plates. I made a cutting board. I made a sink base out of balsa wood. I made stickers for a plate you will never see. I made faucets for the sink using beads. I colored foam pieces to go into jars. I decorated. I made knife handles out of clay. I made food out of clay. Now it's time for the final reveal. I really like how the back room of the barn turned out. It really feels like several bodies have been dissolved in there. The chemical bottles and the spills look great, and I love the metallic sheen on the trough and the bloodstains. The kitchen turned out great. It took very long to get all the props going, but I really like how they look. I love the dry brush on the stove and the metallic pans, and I really enjoyed making figurative clay, and I can't wait to explore more realistic mini food making. Before I go, I need to thank my amazing spectral and salty patron. You get this girl's undead calcified heart fluttering with joy. If you like this video, you'll love learning how I made the farmhouse and making a creepy farm from scratch. But before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to show even more support, consider joining my Patreon, where you'll get access to high-resolution PNGs of behind-the-scenes art, time-lapses of set art, access to PNG and Procreate files, as well as your name at the end of each new video. Thanks for watching. See ya!